It is Sunday evening, and that means it's time for another The Auburn Experience live podcast recording. We are doing episode 91 for you today. We're going to obviously talk about Auburn potpourri, all that news that you need to know in the Auburn sphere. And then we're going to dive into our major topics today, record predictions for 2024. And we'll take a look at the SEC schedule in more detail for Auburn basketball. All that's coming up right now. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods, times, people, places, things, and experiences. But at its heart and at its core, the Auburn experience is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, the Auburn family. Since it's about family, let's get the members of that family in here. We've got your co-host, as always, Kyle Loomis, sitting in chair number one. Chair number two, I need to stop calling it number one and number two. It doesn't matter what the number is, but alongside me, in order on the screen, how about that? Number two slot on the screen for those watching live. Austin Scott back with us again. Welcome, sir.
I think we should have it. It still rhymes, so you can do this. The chair orange and the chair blue.
A chair orange.
I think that would work out fine, don't you?
Oh man, that's you might say that's what we do or something like that. I don't know.
That's right. I mean, we're just putting it together here. How are you, friend?
Doing well. Excited because, folks, ladies and gentlemen, it is here. Game week is on. Auburn football 2024. We are done with talking season. Now we got to talk through this week, but we're here, folks. Like you made it. Ooh. Just everybody let it soak in. Doesn't it feel good?
It feels good. We got a little taste this week. Some other teams in action. Just gearing us up for our Auburn Tigers. How about Rec Tech? Go back and find the previous episode where I wanted them in the SEC.
Interesting.
We're gearing up for it. The Auburn Tigers will have played by this time next week.
I know, and I'm obviously excited for it. We're going to have lots to talk about after that first week, just because, it's nice to be back on campus, all the feels of that. We understand the opponent at hand. We're going to talk about that when it all comes up. But folks, just let it soak in for this week. You have made it. We have arrived. College football is back officially this week. Plenty more stuff in the Auburn sphere to talk about. So let's dive into potpourri here. And we like to kind of go out there and talk about even things that aren't actively about Auburn, but things that are tertiary. And this is one of those. Let us celebrate our alumni, because he is an alumni, but also just former Auburn people that are doing great things, especially when it's in the pros. And ladies and gentlemen, I am happy. And I want to say surprised, but just pleasantly, just pleased to see Bo Nix doing so well so early at the NFL level after all he has been through. Bo Nix is QB1 for the Denver Broncos. How about that, Austin?
It's pretty incredible. And then you throw in Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham, top two on the depth chart, or from Auburn for the Broncos. Pretty good QB room. We'll take that. But yeah, I think I was a little bit surprised as well. Nowadays, when you take a quarterback in the first round, it's kind of assumed that they're going to take over at some point.
Sure.
I think that there was, this past draft, there was a clear couple that were ahead of the rest, and Bo was kind of in that tier 2, not by a lot. I mean, he still got drafted in the top 15, but it was evident Sean Payton really liked him, really liked how he fits into his offense and his QB intellect. So I'm excited for him. I'm excited for Bo and the Broncos, and like you said, just been a long college career for him, and hopefully that turns into a long pro career.
And we would be remiss if we didn't acknowledge, and you already brought him up, Jarrett Stidham, who's had an up and down career thus far, and this will be another part of that roller coaster ride for him. And it's awful that it has to happen at the hands of another Auburn quarterback. And I hate that they're poaching each other, that they're on the same team. It's great because two Auburn quarterbacks are on a team with orange and blue, which means we have 2/3 chance essentially to get an Auburn quarterback as a starter this year. But Jarrett now suffers that. So obviously these two already had a relationship prior to that. Bo following Jarrett here at Auburn and kind of have him, I think this is not too far to say, a mentorship or in some level. I feel for him, but I'm happy for Bo, and I hope that he gets off to a great start. And they both do in Denver.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. So great for them. Great Auburn in the pros news. Let's keep diving through this thing. Let's get back to stuff about Auburn currently, the Maui Invitational. Folks, you're going to hear me continue to talk about this for the next several months because I love this tournament just because of the novelty of it and how far away it is. It does mean that there are late tip-offs for certain teams. Thankfully, we're not
Kyle already bought his ticket, so he can't wait to go.
Austin, if I was going to Maui, y'all would have heard about it by now. I have tried to go to Maui for several years now. In fact, my entire life. And each time that has had tickets in hand, it's fallen apart for a variety of reasons. I won't go into this.
That's a long way away.
It's a long way away. And it was not by choice. It was by necessity that didn't happen. But we do get to watch Auburn Tigers in the Maui Invitational. And this week, we found out the opponent that will be playing first, who we possibly would play in the second round invitational, because there's 8 teams and there'll be a winner and a loser's bracket after that first round of play. And the times and all that stuff. Your Auburn Tigers, your game 3 on that opening day, December 25th. So Christmas Day. November.
Oh,
25th.
I was about to say, I missed that.
Merry Christmas to us. No, I believe that actually kicks off that week of the Iron Bowl for us. So Thanksgiving week.
Love it.
But Iowa State versus Auburn. The Iowa State Auburn connections just continue. They will not leave us. Like, what is this, Austin?
Never. We got to play them a few years ago. I want to say Isaac Okoro's year. Tyrese Halliburton was on the Iowa State team. It was a packed out. So another quality and difficult opponent for this Auburn basketball non-conference schedule. I'm sure Bruce Pearl's thrilled.
Right.
And we knew there was a good chance of that. It's a stacked lineup in Maui. That tournament is traditionally a very heavy dose of those teams that are expected to be good in the year. So it's going to be awesome. It'll be awesome to see Auburn on that stage. Maui's one of the big tournaments and one of the premier ones that week. So during Feast Week, is that what they call it?
Feast Week? I don't call it
I want to say that's what the ESPN branding is for it.
Okay. Well, ESPN can brand whatever they want to, but
they will.
It's Thanksgiving week, whatever it is to me, which is weird that we call it Holiday Hoopsgiving, the event that we will play in.
Do not get me started. Do not get me started.
So Auburn versus Iowa State, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Not the latest tip-off you could have in that.
Yeah, that's not bad.
It's not bad. Not horrible. We do that every year for SEC play. But on top of that, you play Iowa State, you get the opportunity to play either UNC or Dayton. Either way that goes, that's no easy game because you got the Dayton Flyers, who are one of those, I want to call them mid-major, but they're like the next level underneath the Blue Bloods and everybody else who's prominent there, but they're always there.
Coached by Anthony Grant, former Alabama head coach.
Who seemed to have success after he left Alabama.
He sure did.
Interesting. But you'll play one of the two of those. And then obviously, if you're interested in the other matchups that are out there, you've got Memphis versus UConn in the first round. And then you've got Colorado versus Michigan State. Really hoping for that Michigan State matchup just because I love Tom Izzo. And you never count out Tom Izzo.
Bruce Pearl and Tom Izzo. What a game that would be.
What a game that would be. It would be awesome. I'd love to see it. On top of that, in Auburn potpourri, switching gears a little bit back to football, we got some news this week. Some news that I think is, again, it's kind of like the Bo Nix story. Not shocking that this was a possibility, but if you just went with what was obvious, you would have said QB2 might have been someone else. But this past week, Hugh Freeze announced on Tiger Talk, so it's a little bit old news now at this point, but we haven't had a chance to talk about Hank Brown as your QB2 behind Peyton Thorne. And let me say that again, folks. For those of you in the back that still have yet to hear that from your head coach and his teammates, Peyton Thorne is your starting quarterback. Get over it. Anyway, back to the story. Hank Brown, congratulations to him for being QB2 and winning the job and the responsibility should anything happen to Peyton. And he's got to be ready, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like you said, Coach Freeze announced on Tiger Talk, which is on Mondays now. And, I think most people probably expected that going in because of his performance in the bowl game. However, he is not the one in the competition that was older. That'd be Holden Gerner. So it looks like Holden Garner has fallen a third on the depth chart, which
Mhm.
is unfortunate. And, it's hard for him.
Right.
And in this world of transfers, who knows what will happen. But Hank Brown certainly has shown his talent. He is, besides Peyton Thorne as a transfer, he is the only high school quarterback, well, and Walker White, the first high school quarterback
Yeah.
that Hugh Freeze chose to come to Auburn with him as the head coach. So, he has a lot of trust in him, and he seems to be progressing the way he'd like. So, congratulations to him.
Mhm. Yeah, and after the scrimmage I was able to attend, I would also say it seemed to be trending that direction for Hank. So again, it's not a shock here, but similar to what we talked about with Bo and Jarrett, you hate it for people who didn't get the news that they wanted, but obviously you're happy for those that took the next step. And this
Right.
is the next step for Hank Brown. So he's got to be ready because at a moment's notice, we've seen this before when Bo got injured, TJ got injured, and everybody
Yes.
was basically playing with a hurt arm or leg. If you're Holden, if you're Walker, be ready, folks, because at a moment's notice, we might need to call on you. But that's the news for now for the quarterbacks. Rounding out maybe our potpourri news, just a little bit of Auburn flavor stuff, Auburn campus, university stuff. The Gogue Performing Arts Center had already announced this, I believe, the amphitheater that they've had on the side. Correct me, am I correct in this? It's already been there. They're just going to be
Yes, it's
renovating
been there.
it.
Right.
And they we all saw this week the new images for that, or what that's going to look like, how they're going to enclose the stage a little bit more, expand out the seating and stuff like that. That's, again, Austin, this makes me super jealous of you living in the loveliest village on the plains and get to take advantage of things like this.
It's a perk, man. Auburn is slowly, with the Gogue Performing Arts Center, slowly becoming a place that attracts a little more of the concert talent, the play talent. We happen to go to quite a few of the plays that happen inside the actual theater.
Yep.
Throughout the year. That is a side, or I don't know what to say, a guilty pleasure of ours, I guess. Me, my dad, and Emily love to go see the plays in the theater there.
A thespian, are you?
A relatively moderate thespian. Thespian. And so the amphitheater we've never seen anybody play there. But I think that more as it becomes nicer and renovated more, they'll attract bigger talent, which would be great. I think that's something that Auburn doesn't have as much for other college towns. And so anything like that is great for the people here and for the students. That's a special little thing.
I often get asked by people, what do I do other than go to football games in Auburn? It's getting more and more difficult to not answer that question with lots of opportunities, lots of things to do and do and see. So just another example of that for you guys to keep in mind, and another example of how Auburn's continue to grow. And I know that makes people upset sometimes, but it does have to grow. It's not a museum. Final notes in Auburn potpourri for you. Big flip for Auburn of Nate Marshall from Michigan for the 2025 class defensive lineman. Auburn soccer's 3-0. School is back in session. We talked about this a little bit last week. And the football reunion game will be for the Vandy game, that being for the 04 team. Really excited.
20 years.
One.
What
20 years. That is just crazy. We are old, Austin. I'm still older than you, though.
Yes, you are.
Thank you for reminding me continuously of that. But with that being said, let's jump into our first major topic tonight, and we're going to be talking about predictions.
Boy.
Are you ready, sir? Get pumped.
Oh, I'm ready. I finalized it. I'm ready. I can't wait for people to tell me I'm wrong.
Austin, I have been hounded, begged, pleaded, bribed to give my predictions early. And certain individuals part of our Conquer Club have claimed they got it out of me early, and they still haven't listened to me. You know who you are. I'm looking at you right now in the chat. But tonight's the night we give out our official predictions for the season, not score predictions. We're just going to go game by game. We only have a limited time to talk about how we think the season is going to go. So let's jump into it right now. Game number 1, Austin, Alabama A&M this week. Anything you want to share about it, or just say the expected?
I think we're going to win it. It's going to be a fun weekend on the Plains. First game. I think you'll be just fine.
I think we're going to be just fine as well. I think it's going to be a great time. Very much looking forward to that Alabama A&M band being in town.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to just be a great weekend. It's going to be warm, but not as warm as it could be. Hey, by the way, y'all, have y'all looked at the weather for Cal? Have y'all looked at that weather? I don't want to jinx it. Just look at it. That's all I'm saying.
We're still a little ways away. We're
I know.
still
I'm
a
sorry.
little ways away.
All right. We're both 1-0 to start the season. Alabama A&M. Let's go to game number 2, which we kind of already started talking about. Cal. We had at one point hoped and wished that we would be able to give them a little bit of a return flavor of our own with the heat and the humidity. As I've just addressed, that may not be the case, which I'm fine with. But that's going to be a fun return trip for this home series that we have with ACC opponents, California. The Golden Bears in Jordan-Hare.
Well, they played an ACC game in Ireland, so they're making it just about make sense as much as anything. Go ahead. I'm done. I didn't mean to
call it the CCC, the Coastal Conference, or whatever.
They can go anywhere they want.
Just call it the Coastal Conference, and it's done. I mean, SMU being in the middle of the
all Coastal Conference. You don't have to change the letters. Hire us.
How long have you been sitting on that?
I just came to me right there.
All right. All Coastal Conference. Cal is in town. Really excited for that one. And we, I think if we don't have anything else pertinent to talk about in our major topics next week, outside of the addressing of what happened in the game, we may do a Cal fans recommendation for visiting Auburn.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see. I'm hoping that we'll get to do that when there won't be anything else important. Prediction for me. Auburn wins the game. It actually does right by themselves, does justice to what they should do to the Cal Golden Bears. Sam Jackson is with us now, so he can't hurt us anymore. Right. So anything else from you
I think Cal's pretty well improved. I do think Auburn's going to win the game, and I think they'll be better this year. It's at home. It will be warmer than they are used to, no matter how much we would like it or prefer. So I think Auburn moves to 2-0.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a 2-0 start as well. Okay, cue yourself, Alabama fans. Go ahead and get I know you're just ready for me to say these 2 words. New Mexico, not state. New Mexico is game 3. Go ahead and get your jollies in right now. We know you had it. New Mexico comes to town, homecoming game. Another one you're probably expected to win. Well, most likely expected to win most cases. We've tried to ruin that for ourselves the last couple of years, but we haven't. What about you?
Yeah, New Mexico comes to town. New Mexico's already played a game, and they've already lost a game to Montana State. So I think that is all I'm going to say about that, and Auburn's going to move to 3-0.
Auburn will be 3-0, celebrating homecoming in fine fashion, and Kyle will be crying because the War Eagle Productions team will have done beautiful things again with making me feel the homecoming feels. Game 4, Arkansas. This is probably where it starts for real. Now, Arkansas is not considered one of the most potent of the SEC this year, at least from preseason outset, but it's still SEC at home. 4th game of the 5-game homestand. I think Auburn will get tested heavily here because this will be their strongest test yet. I think Arkansas will be looking for an opportunity to try to establish itself in the season, and they may see Auburn as somebody who's susceptible at home because of the uncertainty of their program right now. So there's that, but I will say that we beat Arkansas at home. What about you?
Yeah, no, you're right. It'll be the first test, but I don't think it's too big of a test. Arkansas has a quarterback coming in, Talon Green, I believe is how you say his name. I think he's an offensive specimen. And
very fun on NCAA.
Very fun and very big. I think he'll be very good for Arkansas this year. I don't think Arkansas overall will be very good, but hey, at least Bobby Petrino finally gets his dying wish of getting to coach in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I think he'll take the loss. So Arkansas moves to 4-0, or Auburn moves to 4-0. Excuse me.
Wait a minute. Are you saying he'll get to coach as a head coach, an interim head coach?
No, not yet. He'll get to do that later in the year
because he's coached as an OC here.
Oh yeah. But he's been trying to get back here to do it for like a decade.
Do you think there's anybody that still will try to purport that as a legitimate option for us?
No,
yeah.
They better not.
Seek help, please, if you think that's still a viable option for us. All right, game 5 of the 5-game homestand, the biggest one of the year in terms of the most hype around, the most excitement. Auburn, Oklahoma, the first time Oklahoma comes to town. This is really where most people's predictions, I think, are going to start to diverge.
Agreed.
the most likely divergent points. So I'm going to put it on you first. Oklahoma, Auburn, what you got?
Yeah, I still think Auburn wins. I went back and forth on that game a lot. I think all things are pretty well considered even with Auburn and Oklahoma this year. They're very young at quarterback. Auburn is not, but there's a lot of inexperience on Auburn's offensive side of the ball and Oklahoma's offensive side of the ball. Auburn's is more receiver based, but Oklahoma's is quarterback. It's their first SEC road game. If all things are even on the field, I have to give the edge to Auburn and Jordan Hare Stadium. It won't be a night game. It's a tragedy, I know, but I think Auburn will be clicking and things will be going well. And I think they'll be able to take down Oklahoma and finish the homestand 5-0, which will have people talking crazy, I'm sure, both positive and negative. But Auburn will be 5-0, I think.
Yep. I have never wavered from my commit. I'm all choked up about it.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, let's just get in the feels about it. My commitment from how positive I've felt about the outcome of this game. Now, that is not me saying that Oklahoma is going to get steamrolled here. This one's coming down to the wire.
Absolutely.
This means something to Oklahoma too. They're got a rough road in the SEC, and they're going to be fighting and clawing for every opportunity they can get. And they think Auburn's one of them. So this is not a prediction out of disrespect, but more so that I think Auburn is very well poised to take care of business 5 games in a row. So I will predict Auburn takes down Oklahoma 5-0, the both of us, to start off the season. Let's round out the first half. You had to go on the road first. Man, you picked the worst one.
Yeah, no kidding.
Georgia heading to Athens. We are their homecoming game. We have bulletin board material now. But the question is, will we win? Austin, I'll give mine first. I'll give mine first.
Okay, good.
I'll give you time to think about it if you want to change or anything like that. I would love nothing more to be able to shove the homecoming announcements down the throats of every Georgia fan that I come across here on a daily basis where I live. But it ain't going to happen, folks. I would love it. I'm hoping and wishing for it, but we will lose to the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens.
Yeah,
I said it.
I'm in agreement. I think Auburn is recruiting at a level that will get them to where they can compete in these kind of road games. I think Hugh Freeze is showing that he is a coach that can get them to be able to withstand the kind of atmospheres they play, especially against our rivals. I don't think Auburn's going to win that game in Georgia yet. I think we'll have a good showing in Athens, one better than where we've been accustomed to as of late. But I don't think Auburn's ready to win that game quite yet. I don't think Georgia will be perfect going into that game, but it'll be a big game leading up to it. I just don't think Auburn's going to win that game yet.
Are you calling for an Alabama win over Georgia?
I didn't say that. They got 5 more games before then.
Oh, interesting. It is. They finally do have a tough schedule. So
it's about time.
It's about dang time that they feel the heat of the SEC for the entirety of the season. But whether you agree with us or not, it's our predictions. And,
that's right.
It's the way we feel about it currently. That things may change in 5 weeks. Things may change for all of you as well. Game number 7 on the back half here. We're heading to Kentucky. This is another. Excuse me. Back it up. This is how weird it is to talk about Missouri, because it's weird that people are on this hype train. I almost forgot about it myself because it feels weird. We head to Missouri after a bye week, and they are ranked right now. A lot of people are high on them. I have still not made up my mind about this game. I cannot for the life of me figure out how I feel about it. So I'm going to put it on you first.
Yeah, I was similar. This is one of my games, and I'll talk at the end of our predictions here. This was one of my games I went back and forth on a lot. I'm not high on this Missouri team as much as other people are. They have experience. They're coming off a great year. And I'm not going to put it all on that Auburn's playing at 11 a.m. on the road. But that Missouri team is a weird team, and that does not bode well when Auburn's playing it in the morning on the road after a sleepy bye week. I don't think Auburn's going to win this game. That kills me to say that, but I do not think that just seems like too much of a trap for Auburn.
Right.
I hope I'm wrong, but I could see that easily being a sleeper game that Auburn sleepwalks through the first half, and it looks like they're fighting the whole second half to get back, trying to take the lead again. So I'm going to predict Auburn falls in consecutive games with a loss at Missouri.
I am trying so hard to figure out something legitimate other than just the fact that it's Missouri and this doesn't feel right to
Right,
believe that they're for
right.
real. And I've also, just like I've been unwavering in my belief in that Oklahoma game, in my questioning of this Missouri game. And
Mhm.
so for that reason, given what we currently know about Auburn and what we currently know, meaning not having played a game, about Missouri and what the experts say about them and us, I have to give the nod to Missouri here. I do. I just do. And I hate it. I'm gagging in my mouth right now saying it, but I don't see right now us coming out of there with a victory. It could go either way. I think if Auburn plays its absolute best game on the road, they could surprise people and take down Missouri here. But until we get further in the season, I wouldn't feel comfortable making a prediction otherwise right now.
Yeah,
So
I think
you and
that's
I,
plenty fair.
you and I are exactly the same here. We are
We are.
5-2 going into the season. We have come to another opportunity for divergence in people's predictions. I think this one, the one I tried to skip to, Kentucky on the road in Lexington, been to that game myself at night. This will
Mhm.
be a night game. I, Austin, I'm literally flip-flopping in my head right now. This one has me in feeling a certain way that I want to pick a win here. And I think Auburn could and probably should. But we're always due for that one game where we probably are due to win something and we don't pull it off. And especially when you're still coming up from a foundation that's so shaky, I think I'm going to go against my gut here and I'm just going to predict a loss at Kentucky. So 3 straight
Ouch.
losses on the row for me. This is a divergent point and you don't have to
It
agree with
is.
it.
Well,
But what do you got?
we will diverge here because I think Auburn's going to win the game in Lexington. I went back and forth in this game a lot, and so to be fair, this one has been one I've been trying to flip flop on, and or flip with the Missouri game and see are we going to win one or the other. I think Auburn wins at Kentucky mainly because a little research. I think I saw Auburn is 18-1 against Kentucky in their last 19 games.
Yep.
It's just not. They're just. I'm not saying that to say anything about Kentucky, but it's just Auburn finds a way against that team. I think they're a very good team. I think they have, a great coach who has figured out how to coach and recruit and do what he needs to do at Kentucky to be viewed as successful there.
Viewed is a key word there.
Yes.
There's a certain wall he can't get past, but your point stands.
He's still there. Not at another school, any other schools after this past offseason. So I think that Auburn wins that game. Maybe not convincingly, but I think they win that game at night in Lexington and get things a little bit back on track. So I have them at 6-2 right now.
I would be very unshocked if that actually happens, but I'm going against myself this year a little bit.
That's fine.
I have a tendency to get a little bit over optimistic, and maybe it's part of me trying to, what's that term or that concept of speaking it into existence or something like that, or like the
Yep.
opposite of it. I don't know what's going on here. Anyway,
That's fine.
I'm sick with myself. But anyway,
That's okay. 5-3, 6-2. We're fine. We're fine
all
right
right.
here.
Back at home, Vanderbilt. Do we need to say anything?
Well, look, I don't care what you say. It's going to be a personal game. And I'm just going to say this on the onset. With the offensive coordinator, head coach, and quarterback from that game, not the Vanderbilt game, that game last year, there's going to be plenty of this talked about. But I think this will be a revenge game for Auburn. I don't think it'll necessarily be pretty, as in a pretty win. but I think Auburn wins this game, beats Vanderbilt. We finally get back inside Jordan-Hare. Everybody's going to be feeling happy. It'll be November on the calendar. I think Auburn
11
wins that game.
a.m. 11
Oh,
a.m.
poop. I didn't realize that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I already said it wasn't going to be pretty. So
It's going to be one of those traditional slow starts where you take care of business by the end of it, but you're going to be celebrating that 04 team, as we talked about in potpourri. I think there'll be a lot of excitement to be back on campus, and things will get rolling eventually. So an easy win over Vanderbilt for me too. So you are now at
7-2.
and I am at 6-3. That brings us to La Mo. It's a shame that old Terry Bowden's still in coaching there, because that would have been another
fun.
That would be fun. It would be. But the Warhawks as the final cupcake game. I don't know much about them. They almost got us one time. They got somebody else one time too. They love to talk about New Mexico State, but they don't want to talk about that one. It's a win for me. What do you got?
I don't really have much to say. It's a win. They're the Warhawks. That's about all I know. They have a quarterback named General Booty.
Do they have him still? Is he still playing?
This is his first year. He transferred from Oklahoma. He is General Booty. He's already played a game.
I thought that dude had been around forever.
You've just heard about him since he was like a freshman in high school.
John David Booty was the USC quarterback from several years. That's what I'm thinking.
General Booty for La Mo. So if you can't wait for anything other than that game, just wait till you hear Rick Smith announce General Booty on the Jordan-Hare PA. I can't wait.
Going to be very well behaved. All right. Game 11 for Auburn and the last one of the homestand of the year.
Senior night.
A lot of people are putting this one as maybe Elko for Texas A&M, his opportunity to put his stamp on his first season at Texas A&M, go on the road and beat Auburn. Traditionally, I believe I have this correct, the away team has the upper hand here, but that was broken by Auburn beating Texas A&M for the first time at their place several years back. That trend has kind of slowly died off, but for a while there, that's what happened here. I've seen more and more people predicting this was going to be a loss for Auburn, but what say you?
This is now that we're toward the end, this is one of those ones along with Kentucky, Missouri, and Oklahoma where I was sitting there going back and forth. I don't have a good reason for this, I really don't even like it.
No,
but I have Auburn losing this game.
Y'all can't be mad at me.
I don't even really believe it, but it's just one of those things where when I look at I can't let myself pick the record I want to let us pick. And so when I look at this one, I'm like, it could be this one, or it could be the Oklahoma one, or it could, and so there's not a good reason here, to be quite frankly honest with you. I think Auburn very well could win this game and very well could welcome Elko to the SEC and give A&M another run like they did a couple years ago in November and send the seniors outright. But frankly enough, I just can't pick Auburn to have 9 wins. And so that's where I'm at of saying I think Auburn loses to A&M.
Did you just give away your full schedule?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't know how else to say it.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Well, you just made everybody upset at you. So those of y'all that are mad at me for picking a loss to Missouri and Kentucky, I'm not doing that.
I picked a loss at Missouri.
Well, I'm just saying that some were getting upset with me for the 2 in a row that I picked.
It's our predictions, and if someone else wants to make all their predictions, then we'll get mad at them.
Well, I'm just going to say this. We ain't losing to Texas A&M.
I really hope so. I'm happy.
We ain't losing to Texas A&M.
That's fine.
It ain't happening. It's just not happening.
Apparently, we are losing Kentucky. So, or what'd you say, Mizzou? I can't remember which one you said. Both. Yeah.
We're not losing to Texas A&M. I got us completing the sweep at home.
There you go. Would be great.
In a year where the homestand is a little less formidable, with Georgia and Alabama not being there, you might expect that to happen. So completely undefeated at home for me. We now are back to the same record together.
8-3, right?
8-3. Well, Austin, I was going to go first, but since you basically gave yours away, give me why you picked the way you did.
A lot of the same with Georgia. And I think this will vastly change how people think about what this game could be as the year goes on. There are far more question marks in Tuscaloosa than there are in Auburn. Not so much to do with the talent or the roster personnel, but just of how things are going to work, and rightfully so. After I don't even know how long, almost 2 decades of one way of doing things, it'll be different. And so I don't think Auburn's quite ready to break the streak in Tuscaloosa. I think it's coming,
Oh
and I
yeah.
think it's coming very soon. But I don't think this is the year. I'm looking forward to when that day comes because it's been too long. But I don't think this is the year. I have Auburn finishing at 8-4. There's going to be plenty of panic if Auburn loses the last 2 games of the year for no good reason. But
I'm twitching right
Auburn,
now thinking about it.
Auburn at 8-4. I think anyone right now, if you're being honest with yourself, would take 8-4 if you could choose it right now.
Mhm.
After 3 straight losing seasons, and that that is a positive statement about this team, and that is not me being a sad Auburn fan or being ashamed. Because okay, you go ahead, Kyle.
See, this is one of those moments where, everybody loves to call you a name like a sunshine pumper or the
That's
other side
correct.
of it, and they completely miss the other side of the
Yeah,
moments where the other guy calls you. So I've been a sunshine pumper my entire life, and I love it, and I will
I think
always
it's a
look at
great thing to be.
I think it's an awesome thing, but I think it's also a good thing to look at things realistic when you can. You talked about soon at Bryant Denny.
Do it.
You talked about the question
Do
being how
it.
soon will we beat Alabama in the hallowed halls
Oh boy,
of Bryant Denny?
he's preaching.
And I'm here to tell you today, in Kalen
Oh
DeBoer's first year
boy.
in the Iron Bowl, Auburn will barely lose in
Oh
Bryant Denny State.
no.
Oh my goodness, I broke him.
That's
I,
good.
I built you
That's
up.
good. You did. I
Uh,
was climbing. I was climbing high.
Look, 8-4 is nothing to be ashamed of. Where you
No.
come from, that's looking at context, that's looking at reality.
We've had a losing season for 3 straight years.
2-game improvement on that, and that is the way you want to be heading, so that you can begin to make predictions like 10-2, 11-1, and not look completely unfounded and unwarranted.
100%.
8-4 for both of us. We just got there differently. Rapid fire, real quick. Bowl win for you or no?
Yeah, I'll say a bowl win.
I
Why
say a
not?
bowl win as well. So 9 wins on the season is what we're technically predicting. But for the full schedule of 2024, you now have it, folks. Austin, 8-4. Kyle, 8-4. No more questions because it's out there in the open.
In a top 5 recruiting class.
Oh, add that in there too. Our other big topic this evening, we're going to talk a little bit about basketball because why not? I love talking about basketball. The schedule is continuing to become a real thing. And to be honest with you, probably this week, I feel like with our luck, they're going to announce the full thing. But I want to talk about it because I'm excited about it. We have known some of the non-conference game for Auburn's men's basketball. We've talked about that a lot here on this podcast, some of the ones that you should be looking forward to. We also knew the matchups in the SEC home and away already, which we've also mentioned as well. But now we actually know the official schedule for SEC and SEC games and Auburn. And so we're going to walk through that with you and just maybe talk about a few things that may or may not stick out to us from this. So just sit back for a second. Let me give you the rundown. We'll start off at home with Missouri, then at Texas and at South Carolina, at home versus Mississippi State, at Georgia, home Tennessee, at LSU, at Ole Miss, home Oklahoma, Florida, at Vanderbilt, at Alabama, home versus 3-game homestand here, Arkansas, Georgia, Ole Miss, and then another 2-game stretch on the road, Kentucky, A&M. That's going to be tough. And then the final SEC game at home, the Iron Bowl of basketball back again, the return trip. We play Alabama to round out the SEC schedule on March 5th. So gave you a lot there, Austin, to start with. What sticks out to you most?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's one obvious thing, but I think Auburn going to Texas, that will kind of be their first
Yep.
interaction with Texas.
Love how you said interaction. That's a very
Interaction with Texas in the Big Three. I do not know. Truthfully, I do not know when Auburn volleyball will play Texas. I do not know when Auburn soccer will play Texas. I don't know if they're. I don't know how the scheduling works.
I have it in front of me right now.
I should look, and we should have it in front of us, but we don't. But I think that's going to be probably one of the first times people pay attention to Auburn versus Texas on a big scale. So that's interesting to me. I like that it's early. I like having the first SEC game at home against the weird Mizzou early. After a rough non-con, it'll be very interesting to see how they stack up. Did they end up winning a conference game last year? I don't think they did.
They almost did an SEC tournament play, I believe.
Okay.
I think that was the running joke is like, what if Missouri goes the entire year without winning an SEC game and does it in the tournment?
I think you're right.
They nearly did it.
Came very close. So, that will be a chance for them to break the streak. But I like Auburn getting that first one at home. Love the Alabama games are on a Saturday. I know you didn't say the dates, but those are on Saturdays.
Yep.
And then to me, it's the last. I mean, the last three is a gauntlet to go into the SEC tournament. It was at A&M, at Kentucky, and then home against Alabama, or switch the away games. One of the two.
I think so. Yeah.
That's tough. And but as far as looking for what Bruce is liking on scheduling, he'll probably be pretty happy with that. I will say, I think one thing I've seen a lot of people gripe about already, and really has nothing to do with Auburn University, and actually, but that the Iron Bowl of basketball / which, side note, I hate calling it that. The Alabama game. I know. The Alabama game being on the last day, which is always and traditionally and is again the first Saturday of spring break. I don't think you'll see a problem with people still being there and showing up. So if you're griping about that now, sounds like you need to make your plans to be there.
Or it sounds like you need to be giving tickets to other people that want to be there. Me. First thing that pops out to me is not even necessarily one of the opponents, but I feel like this year the patterns are a little weird. And I guess that would make sense when you're adding two more SEC teams to the mix, because it used to be, I mean, I guess now that I'm looking at it, it's not as weird, but I just feel like there's more 2-game stretches on the road.
I agree.
You got this weird 3-game stretch at home. It just feels a little off to me. And again, we've got Oklahoma and Texas here. Great to see them there. Just making basketball even more difficult in the SEC. But that's what sticks out to me to start off with. I like having Oklahoma back. They'll have gotten their first taste here for football. So why not have them back? It's those that want to travel again and see, SEC basketball and how blue bloods do it for real. Maybe we can go, 2-0 against them that year. I think that's probably something else that sticks out. And the obvious thing you brought up, the Alabama game at the end of the year. Are you disappointed that Tennessee's not there to end the year? Or close to it?
I mean, I know that's happened a few times. No, not really. I mean, do we only play Tennessee once?
Only once, and it's the 6th game of the year on January 25th.
Here
of the SEC schedule.
Here or there?
Here at Auburn. Yeah.
Oh, here. Okay. Well, no, I mean, that does feel really early to not play them again. It feels like we've traditionally played them very late, if not the latest. But no, I'm okay with it. Alabama. Truthfully, all I wanted was for Alabama games on Saturdays, because it just feels like they've garnered that as the rivalry in basketball.
Yeah.
Ole Miss is our other one we play twice, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, it still doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I don't think that's changing. Yeah, I don't think that matters what I say about that.
Well, I do like having Alabama to end the year. It's going to be a lot of fun with their hype and our hype this year, both probably having really good teams. That's going to warrant a just bonkers ratings.
Last game day
could
be cool.
Well, let's look at that.
Okay, I was about to say, you tell me.
Let's do it. So let's walk through this. So your home game options for game day: Missouri, no. Mississippi State, not probably, but don't.
There will be something bigger that day.
I know. Tennessee,
possibly.
Oklahoma,
maybe.
Florida. We went to the SEC championship. There's a couple options here.
They got lots of storylines there with Todd and
hey, we haven't even talked about this yet. Arkansas, Calipari.
Oh yeah.
Georgia.
Oh yeah. No.
Ole Miss, Alabama. I think your most likely options are going to be the last Alabama game,
Yeah.
the Florida game because of the SEC championship, and the Arkansas game. Tennessee, yes, but I feel like we've done that a lot.
Yeah. I think so. There's more options there than I thought there would be.
So
Now
which
that
one?
you
You had to
talked
pick
about it,
one. Well, who is it?
I'm picking the Alabama game.
If you had to rule that one out, who would it be?
If you had to rule that one out, I'll say the Arkansas game.
I was about to say there's an easy answer there. Calipari brings TP.
Well, I mean, I think Florida. I don't know. I think the Florida game has a lot of intrigue if they're off to a hot start.
And I think they will be. We, spoke very highly
too.
of Todd Golden and him being a former.
We don't have to go there, right?
No, we do not have to go there.
I like that a lot.
Hallelujah. But that's a interesting thing I hadn't thought about yet. The SC potential for a game day, because now here's the question though. It's got to be on a Saturday. So I'm thinking, if I'm doing my math correct here, Alabama's an option, definitely.
Oh, true.
Arkansas is not an option.
True. I had not thought about this.
So Florida would be an option. So that's
Tennessee.
Tennessee is an option. So I think your only legitimate options are Tennessee, Florida, and Alabama, if we're doing our math correctly. Because I'm looking at the graphic right now and not looking at the dates. I'm looking at the dates, but not the day of the week.
Then yeah, I'd probably rank it Alabama, Florida, Tennessee.
You know something I'm just noticing?
Uh-oh, what?
These schedules have mixed dates, like meaning on like the Arkansas game, it says February 18th/19th. So
yeah,
are they doing this to us again, Austin?
Well, I did see this. They determined that later. I don't know when. I think it's before the season or before the SEC play, but they do determine this later. I saw that.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
It's absurd. I know.
Why?
I know.
Don't tell us you're going to release this. This is not about Auburn. This is about it. I'm griping at the SEC. Don't release the schedule and say you are going to know what teams and when you're playing.
You know, Kyle, it just means more. Look,
so
look at me. It just means more. It just means more moolah. Now, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Would you and we're branching off of the SEC schedule here, kind of, but would you be interested and would you watch an SEC Network version of game day for just basketball? Now that we have a lot of teams, there's a lot of chances for them to go.
I probably would. It'd have to be a 1 hour show though, because I think college game day is like 2+ hours, and even though I had fun attending it this year, I think it's a little long for a basketball game.
No, it's just you'd have to do 1 hour of SEC Network.
I think you could do, if you could do a 1 hour show rounding out the SEC every week.
I'd do 1 hour and I'd do it outside.
You're saying on the green space?
Yeah. Outside, anywhere. I mean, I'm saying at any school, I'd do it outside. I wouldn't do it in. I know that's like takes the purpose away of being on the court, but I think you'd get a lot of different reactions out there, and they've got good basketball personalities.
You and I have talked about this a lot, about how we wish that basketball would become more of a game day, football game day atmosphere, especially if there was, in my opinion, more logistically made schedules for other sports like women's games. That's a whole can of worms that I know.
Be careful.
We can discuss there as well. But I think if done right, something like this that you're suggesting, plus making sure that you're scheduling certain other things happen on the weekend, you could create a football-like atmosphere, provided the weather is not horrendous, which we've had sometimes. Cold weather doesn't really matter. It just, don't be like icing or raining and all that kind of stuff. But as much as the people at Pearlville / Jungle City / whatever else they want to call it these days can have that good of a time.
I agree.
We can have good time. All right. Let's round out our discussion here. Give me your top 3 games that you're most looking forward to this year on this SEC schedule based on how they're laid out now.
Let's see. I'll say home against Alabama. I'll say at Texas.
Ooh.
And I'll say it's either home against Florida or home against Tennessee. Probably home against Florida.
I would say I'm looking forward to the Florida game at home, because I think we've got a budding rivalry amongst, a mentor and a mentee.
And I like it.
There. I like it at home. A little revenge and all that. Well, not for the SEC championship game, but you know what I'm saying. The pattern that happens down in Gainesville. I think it's got to be the Calipari game. I'm going to be boring with Arkansas under him.
You're liking that. Yeah, you're liking that Arkansas game a lot.
It's got a lot of intrigue. It's got a lot of stories, and it'll build a lot of hype, even though it's not on a Saturday. But it'll be it'll be the attention of the basketball world that middle of that week. And then, of course, Alabama at the end.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer. They knew what they were doing when they scheduled that one.
Absolutely. At Texas for me is just like, I mean,
it's novelty.
It's going to be very new. It's going to be very different, but I think it'll be really cool to turn on TV and see Auburn on the floor with it's just going to be different, very different.
I feel you. And listen, a lot of good games because the SEC, it just means more, and it's getting better and better every single year. That's going to do it for episode 91 of the Auburn Experience podcast. We thank you for joining with us today and listening, watching, however you got here, live or on the replay. And Austin, if they want to keep up with you, where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, at Austin G. Scott. Find me. Let me know how wrong I am, how terrible of an Auburn fan I am. I'm sure you can come get me.
I tell you that every week, so it doesn't matter.
That's okay.
It's my lot in life to remind you of how inferior you are to me as an Auburn fan. But anyway, you can keep up with me on X as well, at Kyle Loomis 24. We appreciate you all being here, hanging out with us, and being part of our little family within the Auburn family. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.
War Eagle.